Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Welcome to, as we are recording this, Super Bowl Sunday, so happy Super Bowl, which is now several weeks past, but, hopefully you had a good one. I was just telling Courtney about this TikTok I saw with this gay man saying that every straight man he's seen in the last few weeks, he says, Happy Super Bowl if you observe, and I just thought that was so funny.
Oh man, I got choked on a laugh. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Whew. Yeah, so hopefully, who knows what happened with the Super Bowl. I'm just going to go ahead and call that the halftime show was absolutely amazing.
Of course.
We all know. And I think when this comes out, it'll officially be March. So happy March 1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost spring. Getting there.
Almost. We're getting there. And that will be officially, 25 days until my wedding? So
yeah.
Courtney's probably somewhere freaking out in a hole right now, future Courtney. So just have her in your thoughts and prayers.
Yes. Think about Courtney and all of her planning and logistics. And we do have a few short episodes in a row here because we are doubling up a lot so that we're ready to go when Courtney is getting married and going on a honeymoon and doing all these things where she can't record. You're telling me you're not going to take your microphone and record from Hawaii? I don't understand, but
Kevin
okay.
suggested that when I was yeah, we're preparing. And he was like, you could record from the hotel room you did it when we went to Gatlinburg. And I was like, I am not...
No.
Going cross country with a microphone in my bag. No, I'm not doing that.
No. And you don't want to have to think about and plan and no, that's
and there's
not...
a 6-hour time difference. So
yeah, right?
One of us is going to have to sacrifice a lot. No. We're just taking the time off. We're just kind of preparing in advance. So if you hear us talking way in the past, that's why.
Yes, exactly. So timely news for you guys this week. So hopefully you're listening to this the week that it comes out because we entered a contest. So we have posted about it a couple of times at this point on our social media pages. So hopefully you've already seen it. But if you don't follow us on social media or you don't have social media or, whatever, we did join a contest for some sponsorship money. So they do provide these funds to smaller, more independent podcasts who don't there's a cap to how much sponsorship you can already have, which we have 0. So so they do want to reach those that aren't already getting sponsorship money.
Yeah, Morbid and My Favorite Murder don't need sponsorship money.
No, y'all are good. You guys got plenty. So we are going to put the link in the show notes. So whatever device you're listening on, if you open up this episode and you scroll down, we have all the notes there with links to social media, and we'll also put the link to this contest. So basically, we just need you guys to write love letters to us. That's what they call it, and you just go in and write some good things about us in the podcast and why you like us and why we deserve sponsorship money and all that fun stuff. So it would mean so much to us if you guys would do that. I think it's a 500-word limit. It's not a long, just a very brief little, these girls are great.
And you don't have to kind of be super prolific and say something no one's ever said before.
Yeah, no.
You can keep it short and simple. That's how I live my life. Short and simple, that's good. If it's over 2 paragraphs, I'm not reading it.
No. As I say, short and simple just describes Courtney as a person too, So
it does. Oh, we were talking about that last night with some people I was hanging out with. They're talking about height, and I was like, everyone's tall to me. So,
yeah.
And they were like, this person's tall and this person's tall. I'm like, everyone is tall to me.
Well, we all got our bridesmaids dresses for Courtney's wedding, and Courtney's like, I can't believe yours is so long. And I'm like, well, your other bridesmaids have 3 inches on me, so I'm not surprised.
I think that's the thing, too, is everyone's taller than me, so I guess I also don't get there's height differences there. I'm like, yeah, you're just all tall. I don't know, the differences.
There's no scale or no, gray. I don't know. My brain's not functioning. I'm still finishing this coffee, as you can tell. But yeah, so basically, we joined this contest, and the deadline is March 5th, so make sure you go in this week and just do a quick little bloop, bloop, bloop. We would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. We don't have too many true crime updates, but we do kind of an update about something we talked about previously, and that is that they do know Bob Saget's cause of death. and it appears he had some kind of head trauma, maybe hit his head or something, and then went to sleep and then died in his sleep from that. So, I mean, that can happen. That's why when you have a concussion, you're not supposed to go to sleep. But especially, I think it's terrifying to me because I was like kind of telling Kevin this, or I'm like, well, you know, if it's like a heart attack or like a brain aneurysm, you're like, well, there's nothing you can really do to prevent that. But this is like, I hit my head frequently. You hit your head frequently, and you're like, yeah, I hit my head hurts, I'm just gonna go to bed. Like, you don't think much of it. It's terrifying to me. Like,
and I've seen some people that are like, you know, you gotta have conspiracy theorists for everything, and they're like, oh, like somebody murdered him, and okay, guys, come on. Like, there's usually some kind of evidence.
He's a white celebrity that was like America's dad.
Yeah.
If there was a murder, they would not be covering it up.
Yeah.
Because that would make news.
But it's like, especially with head traumas, like, it's like compounding. So, like, one time hitting your head, like, if this was the first time he ever hit his head, it might not do anything. But as we see, especially with, like, football players and stuff, like, each time you hit your head, like, it builds up. So, like, if he's hit his head repeatedly on stuff just through whatever, I mean, he's an actor. I'm sure, like, you know, things happen like that. Like, so that final time could make a difference. Like, to people, it just seems so crazy, like, oh, you just hit your head and die. But it's like, that can happen, especially if you've had previous head trauma. And he was COVID positive as well. So I don't know. I think he did a show that night. So I'm assuming he did not know he was COVID positive.
Yeah, he probably didn't know.
Yeah, so, like, it may have just come on. Like, he may have had symptoms from that and, you know, was feeling dizzy and fell and, you know, it's just super sad. Yeah, I mean, that's
the thing, too. If you're dizzy and you fall and you're already, like, I know personally, too, I didn't have that bad of symptoms, but you kind of do have a lot of brain fog, too, with, like, COVID. Like, I had pretty mild brain fog, but it was still just kind of like, what's going on? So if you hit your head, especially if he had a concussion or just hit it in the right spot, and then, like, maybe his symptoms were starting, and you're like, I just need to go to bed. Like, I just need to go to sleep. Like, it can happen, and that's really scary and really sad, and just, you know, it sucks to lose, you know, an actor that you grew up with, seeing all the time.
That was so loved by so many. I mean, it's sad all the time, obviously, but especially someone that, like, you know, is more personal to a lot of people, basically.
And so young, too. I mean, was not that old at all, so.
No.
Very tragic.
Yep. So now we're going to get into more tragedy, and this one is a doozy, guys.
It is a doozy.
If you guys are squeamish, you might want to just skip to the perk of the week because it's a little graphic in here. But our sources were talkmurder.com, truecrimeandyarn.com, Viral Tab News, and also a couple of articles from the Krakow Naziemiasto, some Polish newspaper. Also Wikipedia, who led us to these Polish articles. And we did have to translate some of it in Google Translate, so it's kind of, you know.
A little bit of a language barrier there.
Yeah. There's a little bit lost in translation. We did our best. I think most things are accurate. So.
Yeah, we did our best. If you know something that, like, is false, like, please tell us, because, again, this is having to see from, like, a lot of other people's research who it looks also like it relied heavily on the Wikipedia from, like...
Yeah.
Like, one... there was one website I was looking at. I didn't put it in here. And I was reading it, and I was like, this is the Wikipedia page, word for word. They copied and pasted the Wikipedia page, and I was like, I'm not using that.
Oh, is that all we have to do? We can just read Wikipedia?
Reread Wikipedia. That could kind of be like...
so much easier.
That could be a cool podcast. I know, like, Karen and Georgia did this a little bit for a while, where they would, like, do the random Wikipedia. You know what I mean? Like, if you just, like, randomly did it, and that could be interesting. But that's another story for another day. We also tried to be very respectful in this, because some of the sources out there liked to be kind of gross. With their analogies and all that. So we tried to avoid that.
You can share facts and information without sensationalizing and focusing, like, on the gore, you know? So we're trying to... We don't want to leave out parts because we feel that all stories are important to tell, but we also don't need to get too far into things.
Like, metaphors or, like... grabby phrases, I guess.
No. We also want to give a shout out to one of our listeners and Instagram followers, Gosia. We're really sorry if we mispronounced your name. As you can tell, we do not speak Polish very well, or at all.
At all.
But their username is Malsizm. Malszym.
Yep.
Is their username. So they commented on our 100th episode because they are a listener in Warsaw, Poland. So that was one of our top 5 cities, which we were surprised because we're like, hey there, Poland, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So they commented on our Instagram post and they were like, hey, like I live in Warsaw, so cool. I'm going to get my friends to listen so we can bump up your cities. So I hope you did that. I hope.
Here you go. We're helping you out here. Get your friends to listen. You know, they're like, we don't care about the American shit, so here's a Polish one.
Yes. And we were charting in Poland's true crime podcast for a while. So hopefully this will bump us up there. I hope you guys appreciate this. Hopefully we have correct information and pronunciations, and please reach out and let us know if we got anything wrong, and we will make sure and do a correction the next time we record. So Katarzyna Zowada was a 23-year-old Polish student at Jagiellon University. She was a pretty blonde girl. Her friends described her as nice, but said that she was also kind of sad and withdrawn. She had been suffering from depression after the death of her father in 1996. She really liked listening to the Grateful Dead. She changed her major in college a few times. She had been a psychology major, a history major, and a religious studies major. So I feel like we've all been there. You're just trying to figure out what you want to do. 18 or whatever age you go to college in Poland, I assume it's around the same, is a very young age to know what you want to do with your life. So it makes sense that people kind of, you know, switch around what they want to study. Yeah. So it is reported that she had stopped going to classes a few months before her death, but it's unknown if that's true or like what she was doing. Just kind of one of those things that could be a rumor, could be true. Just want to put that out there. Her mother was convinced that she was still attending classes, though. Like, she didn't think that that rumor was true.
Yeah, but we also see, too, where people, like, drop out of college and keep pretending, or, you know what I mean, keep pretending to go. So it's, like, kind of hard to know. And it was so old that I guess no one really followed up with the university.
Yeah. So on November 12th, 1998, she was supposed to meet up with her mother at the psychiatric clinic in Nowa Huta, where she had been treated for depression. And her mother was obviously concerned and tried to contact her when she didn't show up. And later that day, she tried to file a missing persons report, but she was advised to wait. So she did get the stereotypical response of, oh, she's going to come back. She's a young adult who, you know, ran away for a little bit, like, not a big deal.
She's a college student who doesn't want to talk to her mom. Come on. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, all that
People
bullshit.
know their children. Stop telling parents that their kids are going to come back, that this is normal behavior. You know your children. You know if this is normal behavior or not.
And you were supposed to meet her, like, she'd obviously been struggling with depression, and you're supposed to meet her at a psychiatric clinic, and she does not show up. That should trigger some alarms. It's not like she just didn't show up to lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it was like, we didn't really have set plans. We were just doing this. Like, you're going to a doctor's appointment. Like, that's significant.
It reminds me of the My Therese Richardson episode, where her mom was like, I believe she is a danger to herself. Like, she is suffering from depression. Like, I don't think she is safe, and they still didn't do anything. So it's like, even with those extra factors of like, it's not just that she's gone, it's she's gone and I think she's a danger, and nothing. So on January 6th, 1999, a sailor who was aboard a tugboat noticed something strange floating on the Vistula River. And another trigger warning here, just if you don't like gross things. So he described this as a long, foul-smelling, pale thing that appeared to be human skin, and he also saw a human ear attached. So DNA would prove that this skin did belong to Katarzyna Zowada. Now, just to be clear, the sailor did not find her body, just her skin floating in the river. Yeah,
I want to make sure that was clear without using gross
So
like everyone else did.
yeah, so it appeared that she had been skinned. On January 14th, Katarzyna's right leg and pieces of her clothing were also recovered in the river, and the rest of her remains were never recovered. So her body was not found, only pieces of her skin. We did see one source that said that her nipples were missing as well, but again, that's just one source, so again, could be a rumor, could just be them making shit up for clicks, so just want to put that out there. Investigators did believe that this crime was sexually motivated and the murderer could be a repeat offender, because clearly this is very
Very advanced.
Yeah. So during the search for Katarzyna's murderer, the police believed they had found a strong lead. So the forensic medicine unit in Krakow received a corpse of a man with a severed and scalped head. So the investigators are thinking that they have a good lead at this point because they now have two cases close to each other with skin removed. So they're like, hey, like, is this a serial killer? Like, something's, you know.
You don't see that often, I hope.
I hope, yeah. I don't know about you, Poland, but we don't see that very often here. But apparently the killer's name was Vladimir W., and it was actually the murdered man's son. So he had removed the skin and was wearing it as a mask on his face. So they did possibly think that he could be Katarzyna's murderer, but there was no evidence, so didn't really go anywhere. Vladimir was charged with his father's murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He was later transferred to a prison in Russia at his request. So for Katarzyna, no other suspects or evidence were found. So the case was formally dropped in 2000 because of a lack of leads. But police officers were still exploring credible leads, but it wasn't really an open case anymore because they're like, there's just nothing to go off of. In 2012, forensic technology had advanced significantly from 1998, and Katarzyna's remains were exhumed and re-examined and given another autopsy. So experts from the 3D expertise lab of the
Wrocław
so sorry, Medical University created a model of injuries inflicted on the victim. So they concluded that the attacker had used a sharp tool to wound her on the neck, armpit, and groin, and that she bled to death. It appeared the killer may have also ripped out her organs while she was still alive. And in 2014, an FBI representative created a psych profile, and it showed that the killer was likely a sadist and enjoyed the harassment of women. Clearly, I mean, I think I could put together that psych profile, yeah, FBI. They also believed that the killer had studied martial arts due to the severe beating, and he did cut with extreme precision. Investigators also did not know if Katarzyna knew her killer or not, and if it was a stranger, it obviously made the case even more difficult to solve because you don't even have suspects to start with. Most sexual offenders do reoffend, so they found it odd, like, if it was a sexual offender, stranger, you know, why had this person not committed this type of crime again, especially with this, like, specific MO. So they did also hypothesize that the killer could be dead at this point.
Yeah, and another hypothesis that gained some traction was that the person who killed her and the person who'd removed her skin was not the same person. So they were like, maybe Katarzyna had fallen or had an accident, and then someone just happened upon her body, kind of. We saw this a little bit like with Ed Gein. Flashback to our very first episode of the entire podcast, where Ed Gein would create outfits and furniture out of human skin. And he did get a lot of this skin from like grave robbing, you know? So it was kind of like, I think he did kill like 2 people, but a lot of it he would just go to graves and just dig them up and take their skin. So they're like, is this guy a 1998 Ed Gein in Poland? Like, is this happening again? They were also worried that the murderer could have been inspired by the movie Silence of the Lambs. So, again, Silence of the Lambs is a 1991 movie about a young FBI agent, Clarice Starling, who's trying to find the serial killer who was nicknamed Buffalo Bill, who skins his female victims. So, again, great movie. Go watch it. I know we've talked about it, but just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So they're like, maybe whoever the killer is inspired by this movie. So in 2016, divers were searching the Vistula River, and they were trying to find the rest of her remains to try and get more clues, like, to who her murderer could be. And they're still just, I guess, trying to keep any door open and be like, could someone have just skinned her? Could it be the same person? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And on October 4th, 2017, so 20 years after the murder, Robert Janczewski was arrested and charged with Katarzyna's murder. So Robert did seem to fit many of the profiles, and Polish newspapers described him as a weirdo and a freak, and he was fired from his job at the Institute of Zoology after many of the animals he cared for were mysteriously killed. So when questioned, he could not give, like, a reason for the deaths, and he was fired.
That is a big red flag.
Yeah. Very big red flag. That's like one of the McDonald triangle there, like abusing animals. And he did do that as a child as well, where he'd abuse cats and dogs. So
another big red flag. Yeah.
And like, how messed up are you also that you're like, well, I'm gonna get a job at like basically like a zoo, so I can kill animals. Like, oof. He was raised in an extremely religious household and was beaten often by his father. And the police detained him after a letter was sent by one of his friends. The contents of this letter are very closely guarded and unknown to the public, so I don't exactly know what all his friends said, but whatever it was must have been convincing. Robert's apartment was searched and trace amounts of blood were found in his bathroom, and after testing, it did appear to belong to the victim. I hope this is right and not a Google Translate error, because it is 20 years later, so I don't know. That's what I did see in that one article where I had to switch it from Polish to English, so hopefully that's true and I'm not lying to you. Law enforcement also claimed that Robert wore women's clothes, spied on his neighbors, described the murder in his private diary, and even routinely visited the grave of Katarzyna, which is also a big red flag.
Yeah.
In the official report, it was described that Katarzyna was tortured before her death, and it appears she was trapped to something when between December 7th and 14th, 1998, the killer choked the victim with a chain. And he had been giving her drugs before this. He did break her femur and pelvis by punching with a barbell and bodybuilding plate, and stab wounds, chop wounds, and lacerations were discovered, and they do believe that he probably sexually assaulted her after her death as well. So, wait, I don't know.
So her body was found? Did we say that?
Parts of, like her leg and stuff.
Oh. Did I say that?
And parts of her skin. Yeah, you said that.
Okay. All right.
They never found, like, her full body, but they found, like, parts of it.
Okay.
And I think a lot of this comes from his diary, too.
Okay. I was still stuck on skin, and I was like, how do we know she was sexually abused from her skin? Okay.
I don't think they know for sure. I think they assume.
Based on his... Okay.
Yeah, so I do think a lot of this is from his diary of what he's saying. So, again, maybe she wasn't, but they do think, like, you did all this, you're probably doing that too.
Yeah.
So Robert was charged with aggravated murder. He maintains that he did not know Katarzyna, and he is currently incarcerated. It appears investigators did request a closed trial, and in 2018, he made news after complaining about mistreatment from prison guards. And prosecutors investigated the claims and found them groundless, and so they were very mad now and added lying to the police and falsely accusing the prison guard to his charges. So they're like, we ain't fucking around. We're not fucking around here. So the latest we could find was from 2019 when he was still in jail awaiting trial, and the prosecutors had requested a closed case. I don't know if COVID delayed it. I don't know if it's happened and they just haven't released anything. If you do know, please let me know, because again, there's only so much you can see. If it was 2020 and COVID hit, who knows what's happening and how many delays there are.
Yeah.
But that is just the horrific case and murder of Katarzyna Zowada.
Yeah. Like we said, this one was rough. We tried to include details without being too graphic.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely let us know for our Polish listeners. Like, do you guys know more details about some of the things that maybe our translation didn't get correct, like exactly correct, or what's happened since then? It is very vague about like how they know for sure that he is the man. So do you guys think that he was the one responsible? Because since the information from the letter from the friend and his diary and all of that has not been shared, you know, for good reason. Do you guys know anything more basically local of like, do we know for sure this is this guy, or was he really railroaded by police for some reason? I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of details of this case are not available. I mean, like, as you guys can see, this is a short episode. And I don't exactly know how Poland, like, media law enforcement interactions are, you know, especially in the US, we're very open about basically everything, and you can kind of find out most things. I mean, it does sound like they're keeping a lot of stuff really close, but if this is still an open case, I could understand why, because you don't really want to, you know, confuse anyone. But yeah, I mean, I want her murderer to be found, and if Robert is that person, then I do want him convicted and sent to prison. But yeah, a lot of the evidence kind of seems he said, she said kind of thing, you know, like nothing really, and maybe that's just because they're keeping it close to the cuff. So,
like, as far as we know, that's all that, you know, has been discovered. But again, they may not share details in the way that they do here, so, you know.
And it was a letter from his friend, so maybe he said, like, told his friend, like, I killed her, I did this, and, like, new details that made the police go after him, which I'm assuming had to have happened, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, all right, that was,
a doozy, was rough. Like we said.
Yeah. Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
Okay, my perk of the week is Love is Blind Season 2 is here. I'm very excited. I've been excited basically since they said they were making a second season, because I really did enjoy, like, the first season. So at the time of this recording, they've only released like 5 episodes, and they're going to release like the other 5 and then the finale. Like, they're spreading it out for some stupid reason. I just want to binge it. But so by the time this is released, everything should be out. And please message me and let's talk about it, because I got a lot of thoughts and opinions on these people. So I think Love is Blind Season 1 was like one of my first perks of the week of the podcast too. So we're just kind of calling it back. So
nice.
Yeah. That is my perk of the week. Jacqueline, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is that yesterday it was 70 degrees and the sun was shining and it was a beautiful day. And my baby, who has not been napping at all lately, took a 2-hour nap. So I got to sit on my front porch in my rocking chair and drink coffee and read a book. And it was just magnificent. I mean, just the best reset, and like just some me time doing what I want to do. And, you know, it was very nice. And now it's supposed to snow today because climate change. But it was a nice, beautiful February day. So just embracing that and holding on to it until spring gets here and we have more of those.
Yeah. I could definitely, because like a cold front is coming through, so it was like really nice during the day, and then like when I went to dinner I was like, it's kind of cold, and then like we were out and I was like, it keeps getting like extremely colder. So yeah, try to take in those warm days as we can. But spring is coming, warm weather hopefully. But
yeah, let us know your talk to Courtney about Love is Blind, because I have not watched it. Let us know what you like to do when it's warm outside. Let us know how you get your babies to nap. You know, all the good stuff.
A little bit of cough syrup. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. Don't give your babies cough syrup.
Courtney's like, disclaimer. We are on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod. We are on Twitter at Caff Crimes Pod. That's CAFF Crimes Pod. We are on Facebook at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast. You can email us at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com. We are on YouTube at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast and TikTok at Caffeinated Crimes. So find us on all of those lovely places.
Yeah, and if you want a little extra content, like just 4 or 5 days ago, we had a February bonus coming out. Huge backlog of bonuses, a lot of perks. You can do that at patreon.com/caffeinatedcrimes.
And if you want to see like what our bonuses are, we do have a highlight reel, a story highlight, I don't know the right terminology, on Instagram, that little place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have highlights of our stories from previous Patreon bonus episodes, so you can click through and see what all of the titles are. So if you want to see, you know, what the different topics are, to see if that's something that you're interested in, you can check those out there.
Yeah, and I think if you go on Patreon too, like you can see everything we have, but it's just locked.
I'm pretty sure, but I'm not positive.
Like I think you can see the posts, but you can't really like listen. Obviously, like it's locked. Yeah. But yeah, do that. Somehow in the universe we lost a review, which I didn't even know was possible. So now
who took their review back? Who did that?
How did you do it? I didn't even know it was possible. Anyway, now we're 5 away from 50, and maybe I don't know. I even tried to post a cute little Bernie meme to get people to review us, and that's when we lost a follower. So thanks, Bernie. Thanks.
It was Bernie himself. He left us a review before, and then he's like, I don't like my meme being used. You know, I bet Bernie's the kind of guy that likes his meme being used, though. I think he would appreciate 100%.
that. So please just go review us, preferably 5 stars. Just let us know that you did with like a screenshot or put your name or some identifying information. When we do get to 50, we will pick one person to get a pin, a sticker, and a $10 gift card to the coffee shop of your choice. I'm sure that sound of me saying that just goes in your head all night long, because it does me. So please go do that, and we'll stop saying this, and we just love to give someone some goodies. But yeah, in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.